Greg, I told you 50 times, it's over. Wait, you're not Greg.
Nein, my name is Arnold Schwartzbruder. I am here to deliver a present from an anonymous source. It's urgent that you play it. Was? Something on my face?
Was ist das?
You've never seen a PlayStation game before?
Well, yes, I've seen one before, just not this one.
Just play it. It'll all make sense soon enough. Good day.
Alright, that was weird.
What do you think that will look like?
Hey, Arnold visited again, and he wanted me to give you this. He said it's from some anonymous source. Let me see it. Secret admirer? Ha! I wish. Who's desperate enough to want a buffoon like me? Why did they send me Street Skater on the PS1? Is that a bad game? I'm about to find out.
Extreme skateboarding is probably the most addicting video game genre you'll ever play, whether you skate or not. It all started in 1999 when Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was released. Countless hours were spent on these games, and people have so many fond memories, and so many frowned upon memories. But the game we're taking a look at today, Street Skater, actually predates the original Pro Skater 1. Yes, this came out in February, 7 months before Thups 1. The game was developed by one Atelier Double. This is their full list of games they developed before being defunct in 2004. Weird how Street Skater is not listed under the PlayStation section. Street Skater was published by Micro Cabin in Japan, while the international release was handled by Electronic Arts. Yes, that Electronic Arts.
What we're looking at might actually be the foundation for their Skate series. So, let's see what this game has to offer. I found it.
We begin the game with an epic FMV, accompanied by rad music, hell yeah. And then... I should start re-evaluating my decisions in life. Street Skater is a pseudo-downhill skateboard game where you grind rails and nail tricks, and make it to the end of the course as quickly as possible. Before getting into the game, we need to pick our skater. We have 4 characters from the start, all original. TJ, Jerry, Ginger, and Frankie. Then we get to pick our board, which isn't gonna really matter, but I like the option regardless. Your goal is to meet the score threshold for each stage. Your overall score gets tallied.
Wait! Before we go any further, we gotta talk about the controls.
Alright, so normally different tricks are assigned to different buttons on the controller. In the original Tony Hawk, you could grind and wall ride with triangle, ollie with X, grab with circle, and flip with square. You can't do any of that in Street Skater. Now remember, this is pre-Tony Hawk, so how do we do tricks? We press X to jump, and tricks are automatically done when you jump off a ramp. Depending on your timing and speed, and the input on your D-pad, you can pull off tricks based on a level scale. The higher the level, the more tricks you do. It's also worth noting that you can't bail when tricking. The only way you bail is if you mistime your jumps or run into shit, and every bail is a 300-point deduction. Medic! Oh yeah, there's also an announcer in this game. He's pretty cool and actually not annoying. Sometimes.
You're ripping!
You have a time limit which can be extended by reaching checkpoints, giving this game a sort of arcade feel. At the same time, however, this introduces an unwelcomed restriction to the gameplay. You can only trick for a certain amount of time before you have to haul ass to the next checkpoint. The game actually counteracts this by making tricks worth less points every time you perform them in the same area. Did you get all that? There's a quiz at the end. So there's a bit of strategy here. Do a few tricks, then move on. The controls themselves leave quite a lot to be desired. So if tricks are automatically performed, what do the rest of the buttons do? Well, you can use the square button to slow down and the circle button to crouch. The triangle button does nothing because grinds and lip tricks are automatic as well. You can change your stance with L1 and R1, but only when you're going straight and not crouching. It's absolutely pointless. Now, these controls, like any game, take some time to get used to, but honestly, they're not as bad as I thought. They're not perfect, but given the choice, I'd sooner play this than the original Pro Skater. These days, that isn't really saying much, but hey, it's something. If you somehow don't make it to the end or a checkpoint in time, your run is over. But get this, your score is not recorded unless you make it to the finish. So if time runs out, that's it. Try again.
Try again?
Yes, game, try again. Although if you don't want to give it another go,
Game over. Later.
I'm ashamed to admit, this scared the shit out of me as a kid. I guess it was the black background and the way the game over screen pops up. I was afraid of a lot of things.
Anyway, when you make it to the end, you receive a time bonus, based on how much time you had left on your run. If your overall score meets or beats the criteria, you move on. If it doesn't, go again. There are 3 main stages, each with varying paths you can take for more or less trick opportunities. Of course, these stages will be linear at first, but beating the game once with the main skaters unlocks alternate gates for each stage. Stage 1 is Los Angeles. It's a pretty basic course that helps you get accustomed to how the game is going to play. Stage 2 is New York City. This is an easy win every single time. I'm not even joking, it's the shortest course in the game and therefore the easiest. I gotta say, it's kinda weird seeing the World Trade Center in a pre-2001 game. The final and most challenging stage is Tokyo. So many ramps, so many half pipes, so many rails, so many recipes for either success or disaster. Between stages, you will be greeted with one of 3 bonus stages, and you'll see 2 of them during the campaign. These stages will give you a time bonus for the next stage depending on how well you do within 30 seconds. There's Big Air, where you try to jump as high up as you can. There's Half Pipe, where you perform tricks and go for a high score. And then there's Bowl, which is the same as Half Pipe, except in a bowl. I'll put that in my top 10 things I totally didn't see coming in a video game list. So after completing the final stage, you would think that's it, right? Just do the same thing with the other 3 skaters and the game is finished in less than an hour. If that were the case, do you think I'd be making this video? Nah man, you have to go through the game again in order to unlock a new skater. There are 4 unlockable skaters: Sarah, Mick, Bonobo, which is just Frankie but as a monkey, and Saho, a rollerblading ninja. Completing the game with them unlocks more boards to choose, and the second time gives you a mirrored version of one of the courses, and if you want to be a true completionist, you can complete the game a 3rd time to become the greatest skater. This isn't necessary for 100%, but I did it anyway because
I hate myself. Oh, I hate myself.
When you unlock all 8 skaters, you get to watch the credits, and after beating the game twice with every skater, you get a short ending FMV. Cool. You can also change the time of day once you're done. Just a heads up, selecting a different time of day will open or close some gates on some stages. That's kinda stupid. Now at first glance, you might see some of these score thresholds and wonder how you're supposed to get this many points. Well, it really comes down to a good balance of skill and time management. Each stage has an ideal route to take. Execution is key. One wrong move and you might as well start over. That's the Street Tour. There is also a free skate mode, which is what you'd expect. Pick a stage and skate. This is the arcade part of the game as you try to set a new record. This game also has versus mode.
Wait, multiplayer? Oh, just imagine the adrenaline pumping through your veins as you race your friend to the finish. Is what I
Would say, but it's turn-based multiplayer. Player 1 does their run, then player 2. The highest score wins. That's it. The soundtrack for this game is a solid selection of licensed music. We have songs from Plastilina Mosh, H2O, All, Eye Against Eye, and Less Than Jake, to name a few. Each skater has their own set list for the 3 stages, and the entire soundtrack can be listened to when putting the disc in a CD player, which is cool. For the longest time, this was the only way you could listen to Weston's Liz Phair. However, on this disc I bought, TJ's second song, Encendedor by Plastilina Mosh, skips at a certain point. Oh well, it's not a deal breaker for me. Of course, this game also has its fair share of original music, like the menus, the stat screen, the credits, replays, and bonus stages. It even has its own idle demo music, World is Breaking, performed by Bow and Arrow. This is such an odd inclusion. They're a Japanese band who actually recorded the credit song for the Japanese version of the game, Street Borders. Speaking of Street Borders, the soundtrack in that version is entirely original, and it even has different versions of the menu, replay, and bonus stage music. Take a listen for yourself. In fact, the skaters' names are different too. So I'm gonna say the name changes and licensed music inclusions were marketing decisions made by EA to try and get more units to sell. That might also explain the different title given to the international release. A name like Borders isn't gonna appeal to the masses.
It still didn't sell 1 million units, meaning no greatest hits release. It also didn't help that certain review magazines and sites were telling people to wait for a AAA skateboarding game to come out for the system. The wait lasted 7 months.
That had to have been purgatory for PS1 skateboarding fans, knowing this was all they had for most of 1999. As a whole, this game is okay. The soundtrack and gameplay are pretty solid, but what weighs this game down, in my opinion, are the controls and sometimes demanding scores it expects you to achieve. Street Skater gets 5 out of 10. This game is easy to pick up, but slightly less easy to perfect. These days, with so many other and better skateboarding games to choose from, why would you settle with this? I have to admit though, this game is a guilty pleasure for me. I enjoy playing it every once in a while. This is another one of those once-a-year games. I should do another video on those types of games.
While I always prefer Tony Hawk, I do have a soft spot for Street Skater. It did no harm to the genre, and it even got a sequel, somehow. I never played it, and I never will. If I was forced to play either this or the original Thups 1, I would take this game any day. It's a fun time waster, but it is a little too repetitive. Would I sooner play the rest of the Tony Hawk series? Well, yes. These games got better and better with each new installment, for the most part. Street Skater, in my opinion, kind of regressed with its sequel, and EA, understandably, cut their losses. But now they have Skate, so I guess they have that going for them. And I have something going for myself as well. You see, I recently found out that I have my own diner in Ohio. This is not a joke. Joe sent me this on Discord. I'm not even kidding. It's an actual restaurant in Newark, Ohio, and their caricature looks just like me. The hat, the glasses, the direction I'm looking, and even the goatee. The resemblance is uncanny. The restaurant is even called Big John's. I don't know whether to be honored or fucking terrified. Either way, I want royalties.